Hello and welcome into today's edition of the Arizona State Sun Devils Insider Podcast. My name is Kevin Hickson. I am your lead beat writer for the Arizona State Sun Devils on SI, and I'm so grateful to be joining you once again today, uh, alongside my great colleague Tanner Capolini, and we are here to discuss Arizona State's ultimate fate in the transfer portal. There might be another player or two that get acquired by Arizona State in the coming weeks, but it seems as if the majority of the heavy lifting is done for the Sun Devils. And Tanner, uh, how are things going today? And what are your first reactions from the roster building that Kenny Dillingham and company have undergone in the recent weeks?
Hey Kevin, yeah, it's going well here. A lot of exciting stuff happening in the world of football, so it's been neat to keep track of that. And kind of my first impressions of the transfer portal was that I was really impressed with how active ASU was. I thought they would get some good players, but they got a lot, and they were got a lot of guys from some different programs around the country. I think that was kind of my big surprises. A very vast net that they cast. They got guys from all different types of colleges. You got guys from, big name programs, guys from smaller name programs, guys kind of all around the country. And I really like that here. I think Kenny Dillingham, as we talked about, has those connections around the country, but I was still really impressed with how well they did. And I think too, I'm just impressed with Kenny Dillingham and just kind of the job he did. Of course, the big thing with the portal was Sam Levitt leaving to LSU, and I just thought the way Dillingham handled that was really well. That's a very kind of split topic with fans, but yeah, I was just very impressed with Kenny Dillingham. We'll go more so in depth, but yeah, really just proud of how this team did.
Yeah, and uh, some great points you brought up there. I think that you saw the intention that Arizona State came into the portal season with. Like you said, we'll get into more detail about it, but the position distribution was very, very clean. There wasn't one position that necessarily dominated their acquisitions. It felt very balanced. They brought in a good amount of high-level proven players and players that have were more upside plays. They really did a great job of filling up what could end up being the too deep on the roster. We know that they went into this offseason already having to be responsible for replacing a lot of players that lost eligibility at the end of the season. And like you said, I think that they did a really, really strong job overall. Now I kind of wanted to get into more of the specifics of this uh, season. First off, I think the most of the conversation is going to go to the quarterback and wide receiver positions for what they did, and I think that I wanted to start at quarterback, in which they brought in Mikey Keene and Cutter Boley, obviously. Tanner, what are your first thoughts on the players that the Sun Devils brought in at quarterback?
Yeah, I like what they did overall because you have kind of two different quarterbacks with Cutter Boley. I think he has a higher ceiling but a lower floor, and I think Mikey Keene's kind of the opposite. I could see a world where Cutter Boley goes on to be a Heisman level player this season. I really could, but I could also see a situation where he's really rusty and things don't look that great. I think Mikey Keene's a bit more kind of in the middle where he might not be a Heisman candidate, but I think he could be pretty solid. I know a lot of ASU fans are really high on Cutter Boley, and there's a lot to like. He can create on the run really well. He can distribute the football. He gets off his hands quickly. I just do have some questions. I think sometimes the turnovers are a bit too much. I think sometimes that he has a good deep ball. It's just a bit wobbly. So I do have some questions, but fans are really excited. There's a lot of potential. But I really like Mikey Keene. When they got him, I was like, okay, cool. But the more I looked into him, the more I was really impressed with his game. The ball really glides out of his hand. He has really good accuracy. He reads the field very well. I think there's some limitations with him with the physical traits, but there's a lot to like about Keene. So I think it really just goes down to ASU. What do they want more of? Do they want kind of the higher risk, higher reward with Boley, or do they want kind of more of the even keel guy with Keene? So yeah, I was really impressed. I think both have a lot of potential, but yeah, Mikey Keene especially impressed me.
Yeah, and I think that people are kind of overlooking the Mikey Keene addition and how potentially massive it could be for Arizona State. I'm not going to say that he's going to win the starting quarterback job, but he does bring much needed experience to the Arizona State quarterback room. I mean, Butter Tolleson, Cameron Dyer, and Jake Fetty are all freshmen. Cutter Boley only has 10 starts under his belt. Mikey Keene is an Arizona native that is going into his sixth year of college athletics, and he's had a pretty accomplished career. I mean, he's completed 68% of his passes for his career, so he's consistently accurate. He has, he's a pretty strong decision maker. He's not the most mobile guy, but then again, he hasn't had many opportunities to do so, and maybe in a more open offensive system, he could be that guy that extends plays and scrambles a little bit. I think the most important thing is the leadership that he brings to the table and the fact that he's going to push the other guys to be better, uh, both short and long term. As for Cutter Boley, I think that the track record that both Marcus Arroyo and Kenny Dillingham have in developing quarterbacks will go a long way towards developing Cutter. I don't think anybody denies the natural talent he has. Um, but there are some subtleties in his game that need to be ironed out, and I think that those are two ideal coaches to help work around him with that. And I'm pretty pleased with the spot they are in at the quarterback position right now. I mean, there's a long ways to go, but I think they attacked it pretty wisely.
Yeah, I am very pleased too. And I think it's good to have competition. That's something I really have jotted down. I know or written about with my pieces. I know you've mentioned that, Kevin, in your pieces as well. Is that Kenny Dillingham loves the competition. He loves that to see who competes to be better. I think also I did want to mention one thing. There's a world too where I do think if let's say Mikey Keene gets a start, I do think there's still kind of a thing where you could maybe have Kerboli on some kind of option reads out there like. I think if Cutter Boley's a starter, I think it's gonna be him pretty much every snap. You can't really bring in Mikey Keene for any like kind of trick plays. But I think if Mikey Keene is a starting quarterback, I could see them bringing in Cutter Boley. But yeah, overall, wanted to just kind of throw it in there. But yeah, an exciting quarterback room for sure.
Yeah, great assessment, I think, of where things are standing. I think they did about as good of a job as they could have in terms of replacing Sam Levitt or trying to make up for that loss. That leads me into the position that quarterbacks work most closely with in wide receivers. Um, I think that that might be what everybody considers to be the position they did the best in during the portal cycle. In adding both Amarion Miller and Reed Harris, two of the top 15 players, I believe, in the transfer portal, according to 24/7. Uh, just massive, massive ads. Amarion Miller is really a perfect Jordan Tyson replacement because he profiles as the X receiver, but he's also versatile enough where you can line him up anywhere at the line of scrimmage. His blocking ability is going to be very valuable, and Reed Harris is that prototypical deep ball threat, 50-50, come down with the questionable balls guy. He reminds me quite a bit of Mike Evans, honestly, and that might be a lazy take, but the way he moves so fluidly, even though he's not like the most 0 to 60 type of receiver like a Tyreek Hill, but he still has an explosiveness to him. He's very good at tracking the ball. Uh, Pretty solid route runner, honestly, for a guy that averages 20 yards per catch for his career. And also, nobody even brings up Braden Vines Bright. He's a very, very promising sophomore receiver as well. I think that Hines Ward has to be absolutely thrilled with what has been done at the position, and I think that that's one of the spots that's going to be watched most closely going into spring ball.
Yeah, you brought up a lot of excellent points, Kevin. I really do like that Mike Evans comp for Reed Harris. I see a lot of Amon-Ra St. Brown in Reed Harris, where I think kind of he's very physical. He's a very tough type of receiver, but he's a very good route runner. He's someone that I think can really kind of feast over the middle of the field, like you said, the deep ball. I think Reed Harris is going to be one of those guys, kind of like a Mike Evans, Amon-Ra St. Brown that's going to get a lot of clutch catches. Where the volume, like I think Omari Miller could have like 8 or 9 catches games, where I think Reed Harris could more so, hey, have 3 or 4 catches, but those 3 or 4 catches are like for first downs. And I really love kind of the lightning and thunder that they have with Reed Harris and Omarion Miller. Omarion Miller is more of, I think, the lightning. He's really quick, he's really agile, he's a really good separator, he's really speedy, not just the way he runs, but the way he catches the football. He can haul it down extremely quick. Whereas we mentioned Reed Harris is more of that thunder, more of that tough presence. And I think that was an issue ASU had last year. Yeah, Jordan Tyson was amazing, but they really struggled to find that other receiver throughout the season. That was one of the main issues they had. And I like these receivers a lot coming in. I still think you have guys like Jalen Moss on the roster who I really like, Derek Eusebio, your guy there. Like I think there's a lot to Jaron Hamilton, another guy you like as well. So there's I still a lot of talent, but I do think it is really big that they brought in those 2 guys, especially Miller, to get someone from the Colorado Buffaloes, a Big 12 team. I think that's a really, really big steal. And this really gets me excited about the offense. I like the quarterbacks they brought in a lot, but I'm really excited for these receivers and how they're going to be able to work in this offense.
Yeah, I think that the additions they made at receiver perfectly complement the guys that they already have, as well as I think that they will be great players to be serve as mentors for the next generation of Sun Devil receivers, such as a Harry Hassman, a Uriah Nellums, a Corey Butler Jr., the very, very promising freshman players. And I think that Hines Ward might be the biggest winner of the transfer portal cycle for Arizona State, honestly. I think that he's in a great spot. Um, and that leads me to discussing a couple of the big time defensive positions. Um, I think that the next spot that I really wanted to touch upon is the linebacker spot. The big addition in that room was Owen Long, who was the third highest rated player in the portal that Arizona State secured. He really gives me flashes of Keyshawn Elliott, Jordan Crook, like with the way his instincts, his smarts, his physicality, his unrelenting drive to break the line of scrimmage and break up plays. Uh, I'm a really big fan of that addition, and I know that you are as well. I know you wrote a piece about it. Can you give us a little insight about uh, your take on him?
Yeah, well, I really think with all along you have to go with the broad picture because the way the linebacker position and has transformed in the NFL, it used to be kind of back in the day, the kind of middle linebackers would just kind of patrol the field, break up passes, intercept, make tackles. But it's really evolved where they can be pass rushers, right? You look at guys like Micah Parsons who play a lot of kind of middle linebacker in college, but then they transition to edge rusher, and now Parsons is one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. And I think Owen Long I that's kind of a hot take that he could be Micah Parsons, but he's this linebacker that's really good in coverage. He's really good at tackling. He's good in pass coverage, but he's really great at being an edge rusher as well. He has such a great force to him. He has such great persistence. What really I like about Owen Long is his combination of speed and strength. I think he's really quick. He can really close the gap on players. I think sometimes you see in football an edge rusher will shed their tackle, but then the quarterback will evade and they are not able to get the sack. That's not the case with Owen Long. This guy has great chase down ability. I think he has a high motor that really goes throughout the plays. And you look at that, like I said, his coverage ability is great. And what I love too is this Brian Ward defensive fit. Brian Ward is a really aggressive defensive coordinator. I think sometimes a bit too much, but he really likes to go and make life really chaotic for opposing offenses. And I really think Owen Long fits that super well. I think, like you said, Keyshawn Elliott, that's a perfect comp. Where last year, Keyshawn Elliott led the Sun Devils in both sacks and tackles, which is a crazy stat. And I think you could see a lot of that with Owen Long coming in here. I also really like this because you get him from Colorado State, who, is a bit of a kind of smaller-ish school, but I think this could be a really good player in this defense. I think too, you have a lot of pass rushers leaving. Clayton Smith, Elijah O'Neal, Prince Dorba. A lot of these guys are leaving ASU. So I think Owen Long can really play both linebacker and edge rusher. I think he's one of these guys too that's going to be really big. ASU plays a lot of mobile quarterbacks this year. So I think he'll be a great disruptor in the backfield. But there's a lot to like about Owen Long as well. They also get Ramir Davis, who I liked out of NAU. He didn't play a whole ton last year, but I think he has some, he's more of a coverage guy, but he's a good tackler. He's mobile, athletic. I like what they bring in here with him. He's from NAU, so I like that in-state transfer. He actually played really well against the Sun Devils. He only had like 2 starts last year, but one of his better games was against ASU. So overall, yeah, really like what they did with the linebacker. I think Owen Long could be a superstar. And I think Ramir Davis could be a really good impact player.
Yeah, I think that that's another position where AJ Cooper, the linebackers coach, should be absolutely thrilled with what's in place right now, especially after you lose players such as Keyshawn Elliott or Jordan Crook, and really getting Cyrus Fiaseu back for another season is pretty much the same as bringing in a transfer player because he wasn't expected to be back this season. Um, and yeah, I really do. Like I said, I don't think that there's many bones to pick with what they've done in the transfer portal at any position. But that leads me into discussing the secondary in general. I know we all know that there was something major that happened with the Arizona State secondary group. Brian Carrington got promoted from cornerbacks coach to defensive game passing coordinator. Uh, defensive passing game coordinator. And there's now going to be a new cornerbacks coach. I'm not sure if it's officially been announced yet, but somebody new is going to be brought in. And I think they did a great job at both cornerback and safety as well. The guy that I really like, uh, in particular in the defensive back room is Josiah McGrew. I think that he's really that prototypical, like you said, fits the Brian Ward defense with the way he ball hawks, the way he creates chaos and turnovers, the way that he swarms the receiver or running back or whoever he's uh, fronting and coverage. Um, I also really liked Ashton Stamps, the Ashton Stamps ad as well. I know that you're a big fan of his game. Uh, what are your thoughts on Stamps and what he can bring to the table for the defense?
Yeah, well, I think one thing that's important to know is I think the cornerback position is maybe the one where ASU lost a lot of guys. I think we talk about quarterback and like, okay, they lost Sam Levinson. Sam Levin's a loss, but they bring in 2 guys. Running back, they lose Raleek Brown, which is a bummer. But hey, Jason Brown Jr., I really like to step up. I think losing Keith Abney for cornerback to the draft and then losing Javon Robinson is a really crucial loss because I was really excited for Javon Robinson to play for ASU. So I thought he had a really good year last year. And I'm excited. I'm like, okay, he was corner 2, he can be corner 1. He ends up leaving. So I think ASU really need to go out there and really hit the transfer portal for corner. And I really like Ashton Stamps because I think he has a bit of kind of that Keith Abney, Javon Robinson in him, where Robinson, Abney, Stamps, they'll give up some catches, but they're really good at playing through the play. They'll make sure they make tackles. They'll wrap up players, even if a wide receiver on them catches the ball. They're really good at not allowing a ton of yards after it. I also love getting Ashton Stamps from LSU. I think that's really amazing. LSU is one of the bigger kind of programs in college. So I think to get someone from that culture is really excellent. I think Stamps just is someone who's really quick as well. He's really fast. He's super agile, and I'm really excited. I think he fits this Brian Ward defense well. And I think um, one thing I really liked here about the transfer portal is that they weren't just kind of getting guys willy-nilly. They got guys who kind of fit this Brian Ward defense. They got guys who kind of fit this aggressive style. It wasn't just like, oh, let's just get someone to get someone. No, you can see how this kind of fits the culture that they're building. I think it's good to have that intentional um kind of, you know, targeting of players. I'm interested to see how the cornerback room shapes out. There's a lot of talented players there, but I think Ashton Stamps And McGrew, as you mentioned, could be big impact guys, even if they're maybe not cornerback one or two. Maybe even if they play sparingly, I think they could be really good.
Yeah, I've just overall, I think that we both are in agreement that this might end up being the best transfer portal class that Arizona State has really accrued in the last few years under Kenny Dillingham, and that's including the 2024 class where they brought in Sam Levitt, the 2023 class where they brought in Jordan Tyson and others. Um, but this one, just the variety of players that they brought in from different walks of their careers, the positional distribution being great, the fact that they brought in three, 4-star prospects in the portal. And we both know that stars don't tell the whole story of how good a player is or isn't. But the fact that they have been able to draw in high level talent from different respected programs, I think that that is a big plus for Kenny Dillingham. And I think that the manner in which they have restocked the roster lends the ability to compete for a Big 12 title once again. Uh, we keep hammering down the fact that there's a lot of time to go between now and the beginning of the season in September. Things have to be figured out, whether it's the depth chart, just seeing what position fits best for players, because there are some players that came in as defensive backs instead of safeties or cornerbacks. So figuring all that stuff out is still a big deal. But as of right now, I'm feeling pretty optimistic if I was a fan of Arizona State. And I think that we're both in agreement on that in general.
Yeah, and I think too, there's one other player I want to mention real quick is Amarion Winston, defensive lineman out of Baylor. I see a bit of Clayton Smith in his game, so it'll be interesting to see how he turns out. But yeah, overall, really good portal, transfer portal for ASU. Yes, they lost some players, but they gained a lot, and they gained a lot of variety. And I think too that with this Sun Devils team is that I think kind of having this variety of players helps them. Everyone, can kind of bring their own experience, bring their own kind of, hey, this works well, this does. I think there's gonna be a lot of good teamwork and chemistry. And one thing I like about ASU is that they've always been a team that I think has that. But I was really impressed with how they did. I think Kenny Dillingham continues to just kill it as his culture building head coach, doing an excellent job here, landing some big names, but also getting some interesting flyers on some players I think could turn out to be very well. So really good balance. You said that earlier, Kevin. I think balance is the perfect word to sum up how ASU did. I think too that this was needed, especially after losing the Sun Bowl, kind of losing to Arizona at home. I think this was a really big win that ASU needed and they got.
Yeah, and I think that uh overall that pretty much sums things up that this just is a reinforcement of Arizona State's intentionality under Kenny Dillingham. Every move that they make, there's a reasoning behind it. And that's just a breath of fresh air, especially considering what happened at within the program previously. Um, like we said, overall, very good job all around on that front. And uh, about 2 months away from spring practices restarting for Arizona State. That officially signals the lead in into the 2026 season. And until then, Tanner and I will be producing content for ASU on SI, preparing you everyone for the start of another big campaign for Kenny Dillingham and company. Until then, thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of the Sun Devils Insider Podcast. And Tanner, if you have any last thoughts, go right ahead.
Yeah, it was an honor to do this transfer portal episode with you, Kevin. And yeah, it's been really great to see the way ASU sports is going, and it's an exciting time. And yeah, it's we'll also kind of, I know we talked about diving in a bit more into the spring, kind of what ASU should focus on the spring practice, and yeah, that's the next kind of big thing for this team to kind of get everything decided out and figured out with that.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for joining me once again, Tanner. And thank you to everybody that continues to watch this podcast. And I'll see you with another episode tomorrow. Thank you so much.